Hey, come on in and welcome to A Win is a Win podcast, where sports and everything else collide. Comfortable? All right. Let's go, Dr. T.
All right, so we're going to dive down a rabbit hole for this mini episode into the inevitable franchise tag and what that really means for teams and players. But before we get into all of that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget to tell someone to tell somebody else to join A Win is a Win. And listen, when you subscribe over here, it doesn't even cost you a thing. And while you're at it, it's a couple buttons I would appreciate it if you would push if you could. That's the like button to keep us in the algorithm and the notification bell so that you know when a new episode drops. And don't forget, you can catch us on Apple Podcast. You can catch us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Now, I want to tackle one of the most polarizing tools in the NFL owner's playbook. Yep, the franchise tag. Why do owners use it though? And why does it spark so much debate? And what does it mean for players and teams in this era, in this kind of, how can I say it, athlete that we are dealing with? Much different than before. And we are talking about a lot more money. So, with franchise tag decisions coming up for the 2025 season, we're going to see players, I think, like T. Higgins, Josh Allen of the Jaguars, not the Bills, and Brian Burns possibly being tagged in this free agency. But what does it really mean for a player to be franchise tagged? And why do owners love using it while players fight so hard against it? Well, here's a little bit of what I think. The franchise tag itself, it's a tool NFL teams use to keep a player for more than one season without the commitment to a long-term deal. Now, there are two types of franchise tags. You have the exclusive tag, which means the player can't negotiate at all with other teams, and then a non exclusive tag, which means the player can negotiate, but the original team has the right to match any offer or receive 2 first-round picks if the player leaves. Then you get into the third option, and that's the transition tag. It is rarely used, but it allows a team to match offers without receiving compensation if the player leaves. Now, the tag number is based on the average of the top 5 salaries at a player's position or 120% of their previous salary, basically, whichever one is higher. All right, so here's an example, right? So let's just say, because it's a hot topic, if the Cincinnati Bengals use the franchise tag on T. Higgins, which in their I would say history of being one of, if not the cheapest franchise of all 32 teams, well, he would earn about 21.8 million in 2020, this season 24-25. So the average, I believe Justin Jefferson reset the market at about 8 million, I believe. And you also have to ask, why do the owners utilize the franchise tag? Well, For one, it buys time for contract negotiation. So teams use the tag to prevent a key player from hitting free agency while working out long-term deals. I'm going to pigeonhole you for a little bit. Sit still until we can figure out this money. Okay? Not going anywhere for at least a year. Okay? Example. So you remember when Lamar Jackson was tagged in 2023, which allowed them to eventually work out a $260 million extension. And you also get into short-term control cost. So pretty much instead of committing to a massive multi-year deal, a team can pay for just a season. Are you tired of overpriced groceries and limited options at the supermarket? Because I know I am. Well, try Misfit Marketplace, where every box is packed with delicious organic produce at up to 40% off retail prices. That's right. You get your fresh fruits to colorful veggies. Misfit Marketplace delivers quality ingredients straight to your door. Visit misfitmarket.com and use code POD20, that is POD20, to get 20% off your first order, and tell them that Dr. T sent you. Eat well, save money, and join the Misfit movement today. So here's an example. The Giants tagged, remember this, Saquon Barkley in 23. Instead of giving him a long-term contract, they eventually settled on a 1-year, $11 million deal. And so we fast forward to that uncomfortable conversation that was on Hard Knocks with him and the coach. The GM, excuse me. And it was just a matter of undervalued and underappreciated. And so he wrote his own story. And now he's a Super Bowl champion. It also prevents losing a star pretty much for nothing. Now, if a player is set to leave and the team can't afford them, tagging them ensures that either they stay or the team gets draft picks in return. So let's look at the Chiefs. They tagged Orlando Brown Jr. in 22 before letting him walk to the Bengals in 23. But why? Here's the question. Why do the players themselves hate the tag? Well, it's a couple reasons. There's no long-term security in that. The NFL careers are short. We know that. Okay. And they go broke just as fast as when they came in. They go broke just as fast as when they leave. And players want long-term deals with guaranteed money. The franchise tag forces them to play on that 1-year contract. And also there are injury clauses in that said contract as well. Here's an example. Dak Prescott, remember he was tagged twice, 2020 and 21, before finally getting his $160 million contract. But he suffered a career-ending injury and he wouldn't have had any financial security. And let's get back into the injury risk. So if a player gets hurt while they're on the tag, well, they may never get their big payday and walk away with the bag. So if you remember safety Earl Thomas in 2018 for the Seahawks, he was playing on that tag, broke his leg, and never got the contract he wanted. And it kind of lowers the earning potential. So a long-term deal allows players to capitalize their value. Okay, cool. The tag delays that payday. All right. So if you look at Josh Jacobs of the Raiders, he played on a tag in 23 instead of getting a multi-year deal when his value was at its peak. Current players who might get tagged, I feel, this is just my opinion, and I could be wrong. I think that the Bengals are definitely going to tag T. Hig. The Bengals do not want to lose him, but may not afford the long-term deal. So we're going to pigeonhole you again until we can figure it out. Not only are you not paid right now, but we still got to pay Chase and we still got to get Burrow, and we can't do all three. So until we can figure that out, sit still. I'm still going to go with Josh Allen of the Jaguars. He's an elite pass rusher, y'all. And I think he could be tagged as Jacksonville decides his future. Leave. Just no one wants to die on that hill of a Jacksonville Jaguar. Brian Burns of the Panthers, I think that Carolina will likely use the tag to avoid losing him for nothing. And then also Antonio Winfield Jr. of the Bucks. I think, because he's a top safety who Tampa Bay, they just, even though he's a top safety, I just don't feel like they want to commit to him long term. That's just how I feel about that. Here's what I think. Here's what I think and how I'll close this little mini episode out. I think the franchise is a powerful tool for owners, but frustrating for the players for many reasons. And as we approach the 25-26 season, we should keep an eye on how the teams use it. And it also begs the question of what will the NFL Players Association do? What are they going to do? What is the future of the tag? I mean, with player salaries and the salary cap continuing to go up, it's not going down and it's not staying stagnant. The tag will remain a valuable tool for teams. However, the NFL Players Association is pushing for changes in the next collective bargaining agreement to give players more leverage. Now, some proposals include limiting the number of times a player can be tagged or increasing the tag's value to better reflect the market. But for now, though, the franchise tag remains a double-edged sword, a necessary tool for teams, but a source of frustration for players. And as long as that tension exists, the debate, if it's fair or if it's not, will continue.